You know, for pretty much all of modern history, we've had one direction for building our cities, up. Our ambition has always been written in our skylines. But what if that's not the only way? What if the future is, well, down, or maybe even under the sea? Let's dive into where we might be living next.
Tokyo, its signature is that skyline reaching for the clouds. But have you ever stopped to ask why? Why is that our default setting? What is it that's constantly pushing us to build higher and higher? Well, it really comes down to something super simple. Money. Economics. Land in a city is some of the most valuable stuff on Earth, period. And there's only so much of it. So when you run out of room to build sideways, the only way to go is up. It's really the only way to squeeze the most value out of a teeny tiny piece of land. Now, this whole skyscraper thing didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It took 3 key pieces of tech, kind of like a technological trinity. First up, you've got the steel frame. Think of it as a super strong skeleton that let us build way, way higher. Then you needed reinforced concrete for the foundations to literally anchor these massive towers to the bedrock. But honestly, the real game changer was the safety elevator. All of a sudden, those top floors weren't a massive workout to get to. They became the penthouse, the premium spots with the best views. That unlocked a ton of commercial value. Okay, but here's the catch. This whole race to the top has some serious downsides. All that concrete and glass creates what scientists call urban heat islands. They literally make our cities hotter. And making all that steel and concrete, it leaves a gigantic carbon footprint. So maybe the sky isn't the limit after all. Maybe it's a warning sign that we need to start thinking differently.
So if up has its limits, what about down? Let's take a look at the world beneath our feet. And we're not talking about just building bunkers to hide in. The idea here is to create a whole new strategic layer that supports the city we already have on the surface.
But of course, there's a trade-off. The good stuff, it's pretty amazing. You get natural insulation, which means incredible resilience against extreme weather and huge energy savings. But the downsides are also huge. For one, it's about 3 to 4 times more expensive to build. And then there's the human factor. We've got this deep psychological barrier. We're just not built to live without sunlight. The fear of being trapped is real.
All right, so we've looked up, we've looked down. Now let's get really ambitious and look at the final frontier for our cities, the deep, the world under the waves.
So, what's the #1 problem here? It's the pressure. The absolutely immense, crushing pressure of the ocean. Just think about this. For every 10 meters you go down, the pressure increases by 1 full atmosphere. That's like the entire weight of the air above you stacked again and again. Designing something that won't just crumple like a soda can, that's a mind-boggling challenge.
Yeah, and this quote really nails it. Building underwater isn't just a tough construction project. It's much, much closer to space exploration. You're not just putting up walls, you're creating an entire life support system in a place that is totally, completely hostile to us.
And you know, you can't just run an extension cord down there. An underwater city has to be its own power plant, totally self-sufficient. The coolest idea for how to do this is something called OTEC. It's a really clever process that uses the temperature difference between the warm water at the surface and the freezing cold water way down deep to generate power. It's basically a limitless source of clean energy powered by the ocean itself. So what does that leave us? Are we going to live in skyscrapers, underground cities, or underwater labs? Well, the big takeaway here is that it's probably not an either-or choice. The city of the future, the really smart and resilient one, won't just be flat. It's going to be a fully 3-dimensional integrated system.
And this is kind of how it could all fit together. You'd still have the vertical city, the skyscrapers, for all our offices and homes, but then you'd have this subterranean layer right underneath, housing all the important stuff. Subways, utilities, data centers, all protected from whatever's happening on the surface. And then the underwater part, that becomes a specialized zone for science, research, and unique industries. Every layer has its own job, and they all work together to make the whole city stronger.
So it all leads to this final question, right? Up, down, or under? As we figure out where we're going to live next, we're doing more than just picking a location. We're actually redefining the very idea of what a city can even be.